Yeah, this is quite a short one. Some of those of you viewing from America, first of all, thank you for being here so early. I know some of you like saying that we're up at 4 a.m. in the morning. Thank you for joining us. But this story is kind of on what's been happening with you. I'm sure many of you are aware by now that one of the rallies that Joe Biden did, there was a woman by the name of Mieke Hayek, a 42-year-old mother, a mother of a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old child. Now the thing is, the 8-year-old child is also trans. And so she went to the thing and she asked him, how will you, as president, reverse this dangerous and discriminatory agenda and ensure that the lives and the rights of LGBTQ people are protected under the US law?
She the mother, not she the child, to be clear.
Yes, she the mother. To which Biden responded by pledging to protect the community. Now, we'll come to that later. But as is natural for the far right, whenever someone asks something reasonable, they take it and they completely warp it out of context. It was very quick that the videos started appearing and the news stories started appearing. Headlines boasting that Joe Biden promotes surgery for 8-year-olds. Of course, and the fact that the mother was identified by name meant it was only a matter of time before the bigots out there had tracked her down, and she began receiving incredible amounts of abuse, death threats that they were going to kidnap her children. And it really does show, like, just how difficult it is. Even if you're just trying to ask basic questions about, like, your child's potential status in the future of your country, just asking that question, asking, will you fight transphobia and other forms of discrimination in this country? That results in so much abuse for the people who do so. Because we've got to keep this in mind for, like, the fact that people don't always feel like they want to get involved, and this is exactly why. This case reminds me a lot of the Baker story that happened several years ago. For those who don't know, anytime you hear the question, should a Christian be forced to bake a cake for a gay couple? That's a fallacious question. That is not the actual case they are referring to. What actually happened in that case is a gay couple were getting married because they wanted to adopt the children of friends who had passed away. And they decided, since we're doing it, let's do it right, let's go out and get a cake. And they went to the baker, who subsequently turned them away. So they complained. I can't remember if they complained directly to the baker or if they complained to a third-party service, which then forwarded the complaint to the baker. But the baker then went ahead and published the family's actual address online. So what happened is all of the right-wing groups came together, and again, they harassed that family to the point that they had to move town. They couldn't stay in the same town. That's what the cake lawsuit was about. It was nothing to do about the actual baking a cake. It was about all of the violence that had been targeted towards them because they complained about what had happened.
Reminds me also of what happened with Susie Green, where that journalist said a lot of derogatory things about
how she was a predator
Green for
and
supporting her daughter. And then she went to the police, and a bunch of people were like, "Oh, you went to the police about misgendering," and
it's like,
no.
There's a lot of other stuff that's like context that's sort of been removed.
Yeah.
So this is what the right does. This is how they rewrite every story. So it's something worth keeping in mind, because I have no doubt that this story is going to stick around, just like the case of Damon. Is it Luna Damon?
Luna Damon Younger.
Luna Damon Younger has stuck around. I have no doubt that we will for years be hearing about Joe Biden and this liberal mother forcing child to be trans. I've no doubt that's going to happen. So just be aware of the story and what actually happens. They simply asked, is my child going to be protected? Biden said yes, or he pledged to do it. And subsequently, the right has just gone to do everything they can to make that family's life a misery, which includes the children, which they pretend to care about. I mean, could you imagine being a child in that situation where you're being threatened to be kidnapped, your mother's being threatened to be murdered? That's not protection. Like, we have to acknowledge that as well. So yeah.
Actually, interesting. There's no. Okay, so I actually know what it's like to be threatened with kidnapping as a child, and it's really not fun.
Yeah.
It's not. It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. Yeah.
So anyway, since we're talking about Joe Biden, because it's not something we really wanted to do, I guess I should just kind of disclaimer this. I've kind of kept mum about my thoughts on Joe Biden during most of the election cycle. When someone's tried to undermine Tara Reid, I've spoken up because that's the right thing to do. But I've kept a tight lip because anytime you speak out against Joe Biden, it's always been a case of, well, by being critical of Joe Biden, you're effectively working to elect Trump. And it's like, thankfully, that will all soon be over. It seems like Biden is going to win, at which point our work is not over. Our work has just begun. If Biden is elected, the very first thing we need to do is get rid of Biden. I'm not joking though, I'm being serious. That is the only way people are going to start to repair the damage that has been done to survivors of sexual assault by constantly, for months, telling them that they either have to vote for the liberal rapist, otherwise the fascist rapist will win. That's the only way to start doing that. And that's not to forget the other issues, such as the fact that we need someone who's willing to abolish the current concentration camps in the UK under ICE, and also start defunding police. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Biden hasn't won yet, but he seems to be set to win.
Also, all the votes cast, so it's not like criticizing him is gonna...
Nothing's gonna change.
Yeah. Make him unwin if he's won.
But there will be one person who says, you're wanting Trump to win this. It's like, no. Something I've seen online, for all you leftist trans people out there, to know who's safe to be around, watch, if Biden wins, watch to see who's celebrating Biden winning versus who's celebrating Trump losing. The ones that are celebrating Trump losing could be either way, but if they're celebrating Biden winning, be very careful around them. Just be cautious. So yes.
I know you weren't joking. It's just the glib way you say it.
I know.
It's very funny to me. You don't have to apologize for.
I have to apologize for everything.
Why do you do this to me?
So yeah.
I did want to make one tangential point since we're talking about Biden being a fucking rapist. Is you know how people back when Bernie was talking about giving criminals the right to vote, and everyone was saying, you want to give criminals the right to vote, even the rapists and the mass murderers? I just realized after way too long, it's like, you want to give rapists and mass murderers the right to vote. You mean like the ones that are in the White House? Because every US president ever has been a mass murderer by virtue of the job. And the last 4 years, we've had a rapist. And no matter which way this election goes, for the next 4 years, we'll have a rapist in the White House. So, that's just interesting to me is we don't want rapists to have the right to vote, but we do want them in the White House.
It's just, this is quite horrific. But it has been fun to see some of like the results on who got elected as senator. All of the like liberal, we don't support Medicare for all have been ousted, and it seems like most of the Democrat senators that have been elected are all ones that support Medicare for all. It's almost like the Biden party should have played more to policy than actual personality. That the whole "we're not Donald Trump" isn't much of a selling point. Like, people think
Yeah.
you vote Trump or you vote Biden, but they forget the fact that there's also induced apathy. Like, you reach a point where the world is so shitty that you're just like, I could get involved and like be hurt every second, or I can just concentrate on my family. I can just concentrate on my friends, on self care, etc. You know, and I think that's what's probably happened to a lot of survivors of rape in this. I think a lot of them have just, at one point or another, just had to turn themselves off to everything that's been going on. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's the depressing state of things. So I will take the timestamp, and you can lead into the next topic.